The ATIV S. It's been a long time coming, but it's finally here. Samsung's new Windows Phone is just now starting to trickle onto retail shelves, though, where one of its primary competitors, the Nokia Lumia 920, has already had several weeks to gain some traction. How does Samsung's offering stack up against its Nokia competition? Well, let's find out. I'm Michael Fisher, this is Pocket Now, and this is Samsung ATIV S versus Nokia Lumia 920. Here on the demo table, we've got the global version of the ATIV S, which we just unboxed yesterday, alongside the AT&T version of the Lumia 920. We're going to compare them in 5 categories: specs, display, build, camera, and software, in that order. On the spec side, there are actually significant differences between these devices, even though they're both very high-end smartphones. Their hearts are in the same place, though. Almost every Windows Phone 8 device we've reviewed so far has been powered by the same Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 dual-core CPU running at 1.5 GHz and backed up by a gig of RAM, and that holds true for each of these. There's also up to 32 gigs of storage out of the box, depending on which ATIV S version you choose. After those basics, though, the differences start piling up rather quickly. The Nokia device brings the obvious differentiation in terms of its 8.7 megapixel PureView primary camera, whereas Samsung sticks with a more conventional 8 megapixel shooter. More importantly, the ATIV S features a removable back cover and a removable 2300 mAh battery, as well as a microSD card slot with microSD XC support, or extended capacity, beyond 32 gigs of additional storage. We don't have battery performance results from the ATIV S yet, but early impressions are favorable, more specifics coming in the full review. The Lumia 920 features none of this. Its 2000 mAh battery and 32 gigs of onboard storage are embedded and unchangeable. Our AT&T version here adds LTE support, but that won't be true for purchasers in some other countries. Which implementation you favor will depend on your usage habits, but in terms of memory and power, there's no question that the ATIV S is the more modular and adaptable of these two devices. These two devices diverge significantly in terms of display technology. The Lumia 920 features a 4.5-inch 1280 by 768 TFT LCD with Nokia's usual slew of branded features, as well as a polarization filter incorporated partially to deepen the black levels. That same filter also reduces the viewing angles significantly. Good for security on airplanes or trains when you don't want your neighbor spying on you. Bad for sharing with friends. This panel has a pixel density of 332 ppi. The ATIV S features a larger 4.8-inch panel, the biggest we've yet seen on a wide-release Windows Phone 8 device. This is a Super AMOLED display that takes the resolution down slightly to 1280 by 720 and the pixel density down to 306 ppi. What's all that mean? Well, the same thing it usually does when comparing these technologies. Color saturation will be higher and blacks will be deeper on the ATIV S, a combination which really makes Windows Phone pop very nicely, and that's especially evident on Samsung's larger panel. When viewing photos or video, though, sticklers for authenticity might prefer the Lumia 920's more authentic color reproduction, and when scrolling around the OS, Nokia's PureMotion HD Plus technology might give the appearance of more smoothness. Any way you slice it, though, we're comparing apples and oranges here. It boils down to a simple question of user preference. The starkest contrast between these smartphones is in their physical design. Broadly speaking, the Lumia 920 is a thick and heavy device at 10.7 millimeters and 185 grams, and those substantial proportions really stand out when you're holding the ATIV S at 8.7 millimeters and 135 grams in your other hand. Depending on which color Lumia you buy, its polycarbonate is either glossy or matte. Either way, it's unapologetically plastic in a very high-quality way. By contrast, the ATIV S masks its plastic construction with faux chrome on the bezel and a hairline metallic finish on the back that does a better job of looking like real metal than anything Samsung's done before. Overall, the Lumia feels like the higher-end device to us, not just because it's heavier, but because its unique design gives it a subtle refinement, unlike anything else on the market. It aspires to be, as the old tagline goes, beautifully different. While the ATIV S is a very attractive device in its own right, That fake brushed metal really is striking. Its design is comparatively quite generic. If you ignore the Windows logos on the casing, the ATIV S with the screen off could be any Samsung smartphone at a first glance. Next to the more aspirational Nokia design, it makes a comparatively dull impression. And overall, from the somewhat mushy buttons to the lack of wireless charging support out of the box, it's a less impressive device from a build perspective. We've only had a short time to compare shots between the two cameras, and we'll have more thoughts, as well as video, in our full review. The early results shouldn't be too big a surprise, though. While the ATIV S delivers good photos, the low-light enhancement of the Lumia 920 can't be beaten. That's not so much a dig against the ATIV S as an acknowledgement that the Lumia 920's camera handily schools almost every other smartphone shooter in low light. In more moderate light, the 920 suffered from some softness, something we're expecting an impending software update to correct, while the ATIV S delivered sharp, warm results. While Windows Phone looks and behaves almost identically across all varieties of hardware, there are some significant differences in bundled software between these models. The only baseline difference is one that all Windows phones should incorporate soon. The ATIV S came to our door boasting a newer build of the OS, offering support for Wi-Fi on in standby. More importantly, since the ATIV S is a Samsung device, it offers Samsung's suite of custom apps like Now, Chat On, Music Hub, and so on. While we found some of these apps useful, the Now Hub is a nice news and weather aggregator, and the lock screen wallpaper shuffler called Live Wallpaper makes for fun variety. The Samsung software suite doesn't hold a candle to the Nokia collection on the Lumia 920, which offers robust GPS apps like Nokia City Lens and Nokia Drive, as well as a host of special titles to enhance the 920's camera functionality. Nothing against Samsung's Mini Diary or Family Story, or its own fully featured photo editor, which is quite nice, but Nokia continues to hold the edge in terms of specialized apps. For those who like raw numbers, the devices scored a near tie according to the WP Bench utility, with the ATIV S delivering a 237.86 result and the Lumia 920 scoring 233.5. Those neck-and-neck scores are borne out in real-world experience, too, with app launch times being effectively identical, and browser comparisons showing nearly identical loading, zooming, and re-rendering performance. In all, from a software perspective, once again, Windows Phone is Windows Phone, running consistently well on both devices. But while Samsung brings some interesting apps to the ATIV S experience, it's still outclassed by Microsoft's preferred partner, Nokia, with its large collection of enhancements. From one perspective, the Samsung ATIV S brings a 2011 sensibility to a 2012 Windows Phone lineup. Its looks are more conventional, its camera is good but nothing really special, and Samsung's relatively unremarkable custom software doesn't really help it stand out either. But the ATIV S does feature a larger display with wider viewing angles, a removable battery, and expandable memory. And its looks might be a little conservative, but that's perfect for someone not trying to make a splash. The faux metal accents really make it shine. Which one you choose will depend on what your needs are. If a close-to-stock Windows Phone 8 experience is enough for you, and you want expandability and modularity with a classic look and a big screen, the ATIV S is your ride. If you're looking for a more robust custom app offering, one of the best smartphone cameras in the business, and build quality that tops almost anything else, and you don't mind being locked into an embedded battery and non-removable storage, the Lumia 920 is probably more your speed. From what we've seen so far, either way you go, you'll be getting a very refined Windows Phone 8 experience. Folks, we hope that comparison was useful for you. Stay tuned to PocketNow.com, where we have a lot more on the ATIV S coming, including our full review very shortly. To make sure you don't miss it, follow us at PocketNow Tweets on Twitter. You can follow me. I'm at Captain2Phones on Twitter. And make sure you listen to the PocketNow Weekly Podcast, where we will be discussing the ATIV S in depth this week. In the meantime, throw us a like on YouTube if you like what you saw. Leave a comment on the post at PocketNow.com if you have something to say and you want a response from us. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.